Curtis is here, and Cody. I think we're going to have our man coming up soon, the guy from the Polar North. Originally, I thought it was my screw up. I screwed up the time. I put it at 9:45. Cody woke me up, and it was the 8:45 they're promoting all week. So I don't even know if anyone's going to be here. It could be just you and me. That's fine, too. Cody tried to calm me down. He's like, just because he saw I started getting a little amped up. I haven't slept too much. And so I'm going to let him take it over for a little while I pull myself in.
All right. I'm sure everybody had a really great time watching the Chiefs just get completely destroyed by the Eagles. And everyone's arguing on the internet right now about who's to blame, how to build a roster, blah, 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 blah. So I know Curtis is going to get into tonight and kind of talk about exactly what happened. In my point of view, I saw Mahomes running for his life. I saw him abandon the inside run. I saw him trying to throw too much. It looked like a Miami offense. Like everyone's playing deep. They're not really caring about the run, and they're just getting pressure with four guys. That's what happened in Miami all year. And when that's happening, yeah, Vic Fangio, man, this is also a sore subject for Dolphin fans, but Vic's the real deal, and we all knew it before he came to Miami. If you followed anything about Vic, you knew this guy's been around for a long time and coached some really good defenses, and the league is using half the league's using his scheme. So it wasn't that Fangio couldn't get it done in Miami; it's that Miami couldn't get it done for Fangio, and it's just such a bigger problem when you look at it right now. That, man, what did we learn from Fangio? Is that the guy can coach. The guy can coach. So it's tough fact. Tough fact.
Hey, Dirk the Darren, you're giving me feedback, man. Feedback.
Uh-oh. I was hoping it was just working and I wouldn't have an issue.
Polar feedback. Listen.
Stand by.
That's all right, brother. I don't know if you were paying attention to me back then, but after week one, when Chargers put up a bunch of points against us, there was a lot of people saying Fangio sucked. I came out with the podcast and said, this guy's better than what I thought. And it was soon people started flipping the script and saying, oh, Fangio's good and this or that. The guy's great. I mean, yeah, he's been uplifted by a magnificent talent selection. But last year, they were like 30th in points allowed, around 30th in run defense and like 27th or something like that in pass defense. They went to 1 or 2, 1-1. You know,
young guys too. A lot of young guys.
If I'm like totally into the media mind control, it's something I've studied for a while. I was going to become a journalist. If you unravel the whole Fangio thing, you'll understand a lot about what happens to Fin fans with the media. We heard he's a bad guy. And there's a whole list of what you can do. It's from Rules and Radicals. It's a famous book on how to destabilize. And it really all starts with the name calling, creating a negative identity. It was a joke. And you notice it's always the same thing. You know, Fangio this. But no one ever said, hey, you know what? You enter in the playoffs and guys are showing up to the practice field and Fangio's it's not made known. Like, and it's not that big a deal. You know, but like if he farts the wrong way, all of a sudden it's like an apocalypse. Fangio is great. It doesn't mean he's perfect. His defense is not perfect. It's just like every defense. If Flores blitzes with a heavy zero, he's getting the pressure and he's got the cover corners, it looks great. But if the blitz doesn't get there and the corners aren't so hot, they get victimized. Every defense, the Tampa 2 is awesome, but it relied on unbelievable linebackers and talent. It's just a joke. And fans are just constantly, what they do is they bring somebody in here and they call him the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then when it doesn't work out, then he's the worst guy ever. And it's always the same thing. And then the fans get a media blitz on Twitter, on social media from, people that are beat writers and others. And then it just becomes a thing. And if you say a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. And it's so sad. it's just so sad. And it's the same way over and over and over and over again. Meanwhile, Ross can lose picks for us, lie to us on the stage. It's like, like it's in and out of the news cycle for like a day. It's sad.
It's happened to me too. Like I was anti-Flores on the way out because I've always thought Tua had a ceiling that I believed in, and Flores was keeping him down. Flores ran roughshod through the building. All the rumors about Flores, I'll admit, like
dead bodies in the basement.
I was completely like, yeah, we are going to be so much better without Flores. He was what was holding us back. I have a ugly fat girlfriend, but you're not allowed to say that about her. Okay, don't talk crap about my ugly fat girlfriend. I love her. She's beautiful, but in the back of your mind, she's ugly and fat. I know it's a horrible analogy, but the Dolphins, man, it's hard to tell a Dolphins fan that they've been fooled and that this team's not as good as you think it is. Because that's the last thing we want to hear. We don't want to hear that there's some internal serious problems with the front office.
Nope.
We don't want to hear that. We don't want to believe it. What they say about trying to convince someone they've been fooled.
Yep, it's easy to lie to them.
Easier to fool them in the first place. So it's all out on the table, man. Every game, every week that goes by, we just learn a little bit more. And if you're open to it, there's some problems in Miami. There's some problems in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Look, you go back. Ross got caught. I mean, what owner has been caught on the plane sneaking off to another coach when he's got a coach? And then he just signs him. Oh, we want. And then they fires the next year. And then you got the bully gate. And then we couldn't literally find a GM for a year and had to hire Dennis Hickey for a year. And then on it goes. There were stories about Gase standing and banging on a table. I know more football. It's like it's always the same thing. It's because journalism today is not about, look, Flores screwed up. But what happened to get him there? Everybody said he was one kind of guy. And then somewhere in the middle, something happened. Did he lose his mind? Where was that story? Where was Chris Greer getting rid of Van Noy? Everybody's got I got people contacts in the organization, and nobody told you that Van Noy was fired despite Flores. Not saying that makes Flores great, but you're supposed to present accurate evaluations, journalistic approach. It's not that way. It's all BS. And it's the same thing. Oh, sorry about that, brother. Mr. Ryan, absolutely, there's a huge forget about it. I mean, Ross stood up there and said, whoever the coach is going to be, and he's already working on Peyton. He's got Brady in the background. Tua's our guy. And then they bring McDaniel in with the whole thing and flying in there. Tua, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to fix you up. It's just a media hustle, suit hustle.
Yeah.
Can
you get on without any feedback?
I don't know. Is it working?
You got a light
Sounds
buzz.
good right now.
There's a light buzz. Maybe if you have any gain on that thing, turn it down. Ooh, I use some big words.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a light buzzy feedback. Hey, you get to play me for a night. Usually you're on point. I love this.
Yeah, my daughter broke my good set of headphones.
Nice. That's what they do. It sounds good now. You're rocking and rolling now.
Okay.
So if you go back to it, we were told, every Dolphin fan that I knew when I started writing for Fins News is Dallas Thomas is terrible. How dare we have these kind of offensive line? We need offensive line. We need offensive linemen. We need offensive linemen. And then suddenly in 22, offensive line meant nothing. It's offensive line, it's not a big deal. Who needs? And it just became a thing. I'm sorry, Austin Jackson. I'm sorry, Eichenberg. In Butch Barry, we trust. These are slogans designed for propaganda. And if that Super Bowl last night hasn't woken you up, I got stats, lock solid, irrefutable stats to show you the value of the offensive line and how even the great Mahomes can be hindered. You're going to see just stuff that's it's almost impossible to deny. And really, I don't want to say more than that. But I'll get into that in a second. What about you, Mr. Dirk the Daring and his bad electronic set? Man, what do you got to say?
I don't know. Like you said, I couldn't really hear a lot of what you guys were talking about up until now. But it was hard to watch that game. I'll tell you that. Seeing exactly what we needed to do and having it basically just put out on display and proven to us. Watching that football game was hard. Things that you've been banging the drum for it for as long as I can remember, and I mean I've been banging the drum since I started doing this, and I'm sure there's a lot of people saying the same things.
It's almost as the football gods gave us what we needed for clarity, because KC adopted so much. I was talking to Darius DeHady. He's got a D1 cornerback. I got a great podcast coming out with him. And he was talking about how they adapted so many of the principles of the Dolphins and why he can move. He's got a big arm. Why did they adopt Dolphin-like principles? And it was perfect for it to go into this game because the realization, the revelation is so clear. And it's not to say Tua is the greatest. If he had an offensive line, he'd be awesome. It's not to say that. I was telling Cody, it's just simply if the great Mahomes can be inhibited by poor offensive line play, what does that say to a lesser quarterback? And we have Dan Marino to know these things. It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
It seems like we went back to 1994, like when football was football, and when you could show up with the defense, and when you can show up with an offensive line and a run game, and you can win with Trent Dilfer. That's real football. That's what and you think of all the times Mahomes lost. He's lost to good defensive fronts when his offensive line wasn't up to snuff. And not only just good defensive fronts, he played another team who had an offensive line. The Bucs had a really good offensive line. The Eagles, great offensive line. It's really simple. Best offensive line, best defensive line, you have a chance. The weapons, those are kind of X factors, but nothing's going to matter unless the trenches are taken care of. And I just imagined our offensive line lining up. Like we would have given up 150 pressures to Sweat alone. It would have been a bloodbath.
Can you imagine that?
And we got better. Well, they got great weapons too. Oh man, the Eagles are stacked.
And
they told me they weren't going to show Taylor Swift on Fox because they were right. They didn't show Taylor Swift until somebody said, "Oh, they won't show it. It's Fox." And I'm like, I guess I don't pay enough attention. They showed her at like right before half, and then near the end, I was like, "Holy cow! Whoever told me that was right, man."
Thank God. I'm sick of that witch.
So no Super Bowl proposal, like I was kind of calling for Kelsey. More of just a bad humbling. And why didn't the Chiefs start going to some of that quick throw? Like, why didn't they go to some of that sooner? It's like they just stayed in their same offensive rut. Like deep drops. He's not even getting his foot down on the last drop. He's under pressure.
Yeah, Reed had a very bad game plan.
One out of every 100, I guess, for that guy.
And if you notice, too, he had one nice play where it was a boot rollout. I don't know why they didn't get him off the platform more. It was really a bad game plan by Reed. I don't think he could have coached this team to a success, but he certainly should have opened up with more run, more balance.
More inside run. They had running backs. They could still run inside if they tried, but maybe they just there wasn't the same offense we've seen all year. They just got dominated. Yeah. And I don't like to argue, but I debate Brent Lagasse. He's got his own show. He's like a NFL, he's an analyst or whatever. I don't know. Anyone has their own show nowadays. I guess I just give him too much credit because everyone can have their own show.
Even me.
Yeah, there you go. He really believes that quarterback play determines offensive line play. Not 100%. But
repeat what that. I repeat that statement. I was reading
that a quarterback kind of determines how well the offensive line is going to look that day. Basically, a good quarterback can uplift, and of course they can uplift.
Yeah, to a small extent.
The vice versa in that is how much an O-line can uplift a quarterback. It's not even close.
Nope.
It's not even close. And I don't know how somebody who can be an analyst just really believe no, offensive line, you just need a decent one. It's not a big deal. Your quarterbacks, Mahomes had not the worst offensive line he's ever showed up with. Definitely way better than our line.
Oh, way better.
He couldn't make it. So I'm just a truther, man, when it comes to the offensive line. The last time we won in Buffalo, we had an offensive line, 2016. We haven't won in Buffalo since.
Yep.
We haven't made any deep playoff runs. We lose to good teams, and it's not, in my opinion, not because Tua can't beat good teams. It's because good teams beat the shit out of our bad offensive line, making it just so hard for everybody to do their job. That's what happens when we play good teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Dad, Fangio had 2 linebackers that nobody wanted as their starters. Baker went to Seattle and got released. Jones, he got cut by us. He was like a part-time player for the Lions. And for Fangio's defense, you have to have good linebackers. It ties together the back and the front. And that's why Bourne is such a big piece, man. Yeah, he didn't have all the pieces. And he gave us the most sacks we've ever had in our history. And he played better than the unit that had, supposedly all the super talent and was supposed to be driving us. It's just crazy. It's the same old. They know how, listen, they've got algorithms and AI and huge media departments to know how to shift perception. It's the only way. There's no way that this stuff germinates and generates naturally and organically, because it's crazy talk. Like, football has always been, who would go into a season with Austin Jackson, Eichenberg, Brewer, Jones, and a wounded Tehran and nobody else and say, we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. We're going to be fine.
Somebody who believes it's all on the quarterback, I guess.
But it's fed through narratives, and it's not just like a yokel like me and stuff. There's just narratives coming out. They were coming out and saying, we feel more confident. It's a confidence game. It's Sun Tzu Art of War. When you're weak, appear strong. When you're strong, appear weak. They know all this stuff. It's like they got a whole $1 billion department. Not $1 billion, but it's a $1 billion franchise, multi-billion-dollar franchise. They got a couple mil into the media, and they're sitting around like, they have people, I just murdered a girl in the basement. What do I do? Well, what you're going to do is, and this is what you're going to come out. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to murder her. Like, they already craft this stuff. This is how it operates in modern TV and modern media. It's all crafted narratives, and they fly stuff out. They're masters at this. And the Dolphins are a master of one thing, and that's BS-ery.
What you think, Dirk?
I just don't see it. I mean, it's really easy being on a live stream with you two, because almost everything that you guys say, I agree with. It's simple, and we're not going to get better until the one issue, that glaring issue that we have that everybody knows, until it gets better, it's not going to get better. Until we fix the one problem, nothing else is going to even have a chance. Tua is not going to be able to even have a chance to do anything beyond what he's done, because we don't have anything around him to give him proper ability to do so. It's not a matter of is Tua good enough or is Tua bad enough. That's not the issue. Tua isn't the issue. Our running backs aren't the issue. Our wide receivers aren't the issue. Sure, there's some things that we could improve on. We could have a tall receiver. Sure. We could, add a big rumbling, stumbling running back for inside runs, inside zone, but it's not going to make the difference. Neither is the best quarterback in the league behind this offensive line. You put Patrick Mahomes behind our offensive line, you put Jalen Hurts behind our offensive line, you're not going to see much of an improvement over Tua. It's just not going to happen.
I'm going to prove it through some facts. As you said, our offensive line might not be the bomb, but it would definitely be more interesting. If you go over all the numbers, the only number that's any sort of decent is the pressures that we gave up. But when you understand that we failed, we were bottom 3 in flop blocks, missed blocks in the run game. And if you look, we were the number 1 time to throw team. We threw 20% screens, and our depth dropped a ton. We lost Cody. So we were masking our failures. Now, if you go to last year, Mahomes threw on an average of 2.4 seconds. This year dropped to 2.8. They had 27, 1 out of 4 throws was at or behind the line of scrimmage. In this game, he threw 2.64 seconds. Okay, so he was given 2.64 seconds, and he had 7 sacks and 17 pressures. Has Tua ever had a clean time to throw of 2.69 seconds? I think the highest he had was about 2.24. Yeah, 2.2, 2.2, something around that range.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that the reason was because they could drop 7. They blitzed 0 times. So the pressure he got was a lot of coverage sacks. Conversely, if you look on the other side, Hurts was blitzed 30%. He had received 34% pressure, but he had 2.98 seconds to throw. And he only ran 17% play action and 13% screens. And so if you understand that time is the enemy of a secondary and time is the end of the offensive line and is this battle, all Fangio said is, I am playing the short pass. I am playing the deep pass. I am giving them the inside. If you noticed, Barkley had the leverage of the defensive KC in the box. They were in the box 7 or 8 players every play. Somebody's grinding over there. Is that you again, Dirk the Daring?
Is it me?
I think so. Sorry. You know what you can do? Just hit mute on your mic, and then when you talk, you can talk, and no one will notice. It's because it's picking up stat. Look, you see, I'm getting smart, huh? So it's the same thing. If you have a limited menu, if you have only a certain amount of arrows in your quiver, the defense can pinpoint those good areas, and then they ambush you. It's the same thing that happened to Tua. It's not to say Tua could be a what, but if we played the Eagles, there would be 34 pressures because this team gave up 23% pressures at 2.02 seconds, clean time to throw 77% of the time. Only 23% was above 2.02. And they would have done the same thing. They would vacate the middle. They'd leave the A and B gap open. They would drop the linebackers to high leverage. They'd play high cover 2. They would ambush the edges in the middle, closed middle. And so with Hurts, he's not as good. But Barkley immediately forced the edges and the deeps to be vacated. When you put 7 and 8 guys in the box, that opens up the middle. And then they blitzed and they couldn't really get the pressure you'd want. And people kept saying, look, Barkley's not having a good game. He's having a great game. They had 7, 8 guys in the box close to the line of scrimmage. Nobody's going to block through that, but it opened up the deep plays. It gave them time, and he still had time. And then when things broke down, Hurts made his move, which is a credit to his skill set. So the reality is that Mahomes had to sit for 2.69 seconds. What happened? No one's hearing me? I can't hear you now. Oh, man. Can anybody hear me? Oh, whew, that's good. It's my show. I can't look like a turtle jacket. I don't know what's going on here. I can hear my dog soon, too. Oh, okay. So I keep on talking to you guys. You tech guys, not suave like me and my tech skills, figure it out. So
I am not tech guy.
No, I'm not either, dude. I screw this thing up all the time. I can't even set the time right. So you have to understand this whole thing is a house of cards. You have to create balance. The number one asset of an offense is they know what they're doing. They know what they're attacking. They know to snap at a ball. It's initiative. It's to force the defense to play defense, to react. When the offense has to react to the defense, they lose their number one ability. And this is the same thing that happened to KC with a guy with a mega arm, won multiple Super Bowls, and he can move. You know, that offensive line is better than ours. And Eagles are an unbelievable team, but I'm going to put Cody back. But the reality is a quarterback accentuates an offense and raises the ceiling. The offensive line sets the table and sets the floor. And so people who just still want to believe the offensive line, Abel, they still want to believe for some crazy reason. I don't know what it is. It's like almost like offensive line's a dirty word. I had run behind, I'm not playing NFL, but I played up to junior college. I played in high school, that stuff. I played outside. Try running behind an offensive line that's not blocking. You'll know. Why did Dan Marino give isotonic gloves? And why do quarterbacks give like all these presents that are offensive line? Even Tyreek Hill said, Tehran and the offensive line said everything. I don't know why. I don't know why it's so hard to understand. And this is just, he's lost 2 Super Bowls and his offensive line crumbled in both of them. I mean, how many more data points do you need? I know 3 points make a trend line, but at this stage, I think we got it.
Well, and at this point, you can't ignore it anymore. Like you said, Curtis, there's no way that this can be ignored. We're at a point now where this has got to be fixed. Everybody knows it has to be fixed, except for, the occasional random that says something like,
there's still holdouts, dude. There's still holdouts and like sizable holdouts. Oh, it's a defensive line. Okay. Why did the defensive line look so good? How come they didn't have 7 pressures and 50% 50% pressure and 7 sacks every single game?
Against Green Bay, yeah.
It was just we need it. We need it to happen. And like I said, I don't think there's any way that Grier is going to be able to skirt the issue this year. I think it's going to have to happen or he's going to lose his job. It's that simple.
I think with the talent on this team, they can get to it like a 7, 8, 9 win without too much, which is a little bit of bonus. Like if they don't totally wet the bed this offseason. And if they do that, I think he'll be back. I think it's going to take a major implosion to get rid of Grier. I think he's that locked in. I hope I'm wrong. But at this stage, he's gone through 3 rebuilds. He went with a rebuild with Gase. He went to a rebuild with Flores. He started the retooling or whatever with McDaniel, and now he's in a full rebuild. Who's Ross going to get? Who is he really going to get? Like, if it's not Grier, who is he going to get? So I don't know.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, Abel, what's up, bud?
Hey guys, sorry I'm late.
Don't worry about it, man. I said it for 9:45, and then Mr. Success over here, Cody, is telling me, is it 9:45? I'm like, no, dude, 8:45. What's wrong with you, man? I'm like, let me check. I'm Curtis, man. Griers and Curtis's. I'm like, oh man. I said the thing for 9.
Is my audio still screwed up?
Nah, you sound great now.
No, it sounds good.
I fixed it.
Yeah. I just want to quick, guys. I mean, I guess the thing that was kind of good about seeing the game yesterday was it was about the team. It was about the team of the Eagles, and it wasn't so much about the quarterback being Mahomes because, I mean, the defense was locked in. So, I mean, I think that just shows to us, after talking with you guys last week and, the only thing that we can do is move forward. And definitely now how just Dirk was just saying, the pieces are there for McDaniel and Grier to see like, okay, this is how you win. We know that Jalen Hurts isn't any kind of top tier quarterback, but I mean, this is how you build the team. The line, the offensive line, the defensive line, and it's not just so much about the quarterback now. And you could definitely see how that happened yesterday in the game. I'm back on the train now. let's put stuff together and let's go win some games. Let's go do stuff. Let's change the culture. We have to, and they need to realize this.
Well, listen, I did a guy. He's a commenter, and he's a smart guy, real smart guy, and he did. She showed me McShay video. McShay went over all the top teams on how they build. They all stack up their defense. They all stack up on the trenches. And then they keep firing at the quarterback, keep building the team, keep building the process, keep building the culture. And they keep shooting at the quarterbacks till they finally find one. But it always starts on building the defense, building the trenches, and then building out until you find the right quarterback. We are constantly in a state. We're like a crazy person who's got to constantly restart things. Like I play video games. I love video games. And like I'll play it, and either like I'll get bored or like I'll lose like a guy I don't want to lose. I just restart it and I start again. And then like, I'll get there. If I really suck at the game, I'll keep restarting it. You know what I'm saying? And I got to keep restarting the whole thing. That's all we do. We build this thing like idiots. It crashes and then we just restart it and restart it. If we had built coherently from 2016, we would have kept building the culture, keep stocking this thing up, keep this. Look how long it took the Eagles. They won how many years ago, and then they went into a lull, and then they made it to the Super Bowl. But all that building took to get to that Super Bowl. It hurts that he lost, and then they continued to build, and now they're here. It's the way all these teams that are successful, that have long-standing success, do it. No, I don't expect Greer to do anything right. I don't. I mean, he's got so much ammo in a thick, a target-rich environment for everything he needs. If he screws this up, it might have been the most epic screw up. I don't think he could even screw it up that bad. I think he's got to be able to come out with like 2 linemen. He's got to, at least one. And they'll say this guy's the next coming of like whoever. Ogden, and we'll find out. But, there's just too much talent. You can't screw this thing up. It's impossible to screw this thing. If he finds like, another Jackson and Eichenberg, I'd almost be like so humorous. No, he can't screw it up. The only problem is so many. I've talked about NFL cycles, and I watch the playoffs and I watch the Super Bowl. And I watch to see what's working and how these things that are working are built. And I know that all the other pros that are doing that and going, we got to get to that. We got to get to that. But now I've talked about that cycle of past balance for like 3 years, 4 years, something like that, three years maybe. Now, though, with Barkley and this offensive line and this team build, it's going to add nitro to this past balance craze that's going to happen. And just like last year, there were some guys that I think Greer would have picked, but the Steelers took them. And the good news is we've got the ammo, and there's a lot of picks for us to fill that, but we're a marked target. Everybody knows what we want, and everybody wants it. And so it is going to be moving and machinations and up and down, and people are going to trade in front of us because they know we want that lineman. And so can Greer navigate that minefield? I don't know.
I do know that this draft is going to have a lot of opportunities, and this is a great offseason to be in need of offensive linemen, and we need a lot. So I'm really glad that this is the year that this has to happen. At least we'll have a target-rich environment during the draft for sure. It's just a matter of, is he going to pull the trigger where he needs to, or is he going to kind of get distracted by the pretty eye candy or the 5'9", 5'10" receiver that
I don't think that'd be crazy.
Yeah. I think in Greer's defense, like he's thrown a lot of bullets at the offensive line. He's thrown money at the offensive line. He's thrown a lot of picks at the offensive line. The problem is he's missed. And the guys that actually have been good, he let go, or they're only good when they're healthy. So he just really hasn't hit, but he's trying. And that's something when you really look at all the assets. Like he traded up to get Eichenberg. Like he thought he was doing something good there. He thought he was saving money by letting Hunt go. When right now, everyone's looking for a Hunt right now.
That's
like
so
you
crazy.
said, Curtis, like everyone's, but hasn't that been like that for the smart teams forever? Isn't there always the tackles going? Like the best tackles go in the first round. It's quarterbacks, tackles, and special players.
Yeah. No, change though, because you could get a guy that wasn't so good and you had 2-a-days and you had more contact practices, and then you could get guys trained up and you could vet guys better. Now that there's such a limited amount of contact drills and practices. So what it is, teams know that offensive lines are critical. For a while, it wasn't as critical because of fun ball, because these corners and DBs couldn't handle these rules. So you could just get this ball out and you'd have a lot of free space. But guys like Fangio, they continue to develop ways to slow down this pass game. And then you lost the 2-a-days and extra practices. So now guys know we need an offensive line. It's more critical than ever. We don't have the practice. We can't take the green guys and get them in there quick. So we got to get guys that have more talent to offset those lack of practices. So talented offensive linemen are a higher premium because you just can't do what you used to do in the past. They've always been valuable, but you could get grinders and just train them and get them on the same page. But they're not, it's not the same. It's all not the same. So you've got to get the talent. You've got to jive the unit right. It's far more complicated now to build an offensive line because of the way the practice schedules are and the demands, because you got a fast game. So now you need guys that are big and fast. And so I think just the talent levels, you need more talent levels to have a good offensive line. And so it's more of a premium on a position. Let me ask this one thing quick. Brewer's a great pulling guard. If you flank him with two very good guards that can offset his weakness because he also gets pushed around a ton, he could be usable. He could do stuff, but you would need very specific kinds of guards, very high talented guards to offset that. Because once you get in the red zone, you're not pulling. And so it's going to limit your scoring potentials. It's going to limit on those 3rd and 1s and such. So I think he's talented, but there's a reason that he came in at such a cheap price, and there's a reason he struggled in Tennessee. We have a very player-friendly system, so that's just my take.
Move him to fullback.
That's actually that would be pretty interesting to see. I'd pay to see that. The one thing and the one thing about our line that I want to say, we all want to get the best offensive linemen in the draft, and we want to get maybe one or two of the better offensive linemen in free agency even. But more than the best, I would rather have average to slightly good offensive linemen that are used to playing together in the same style of offensive line play. We've got players that are not used to playing the same style of offensive line play playing together. They've literally just been thrown together and told to be a team, and they don't have the skill sets to complement each other. And I feel like maybe if Chris Greer would listen to our offensive line coordinator a little bit more before the draft, he could get a better grip on that, because it's clear that Chris Greer does not have a grip on what offensive linemen need to be able to play next to each other. And that needs to be part of this consideration when they go into draft these linemen.
Also, I would say too that my one concern is I don't like the scheme. I don't like heavy outside zone. I don't either. I don't think heavy outside zone works in bad weather.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much has to go right. There's 20 blocks that need to be made when it's like, how about we just block in the A gap? How about we just push somebody forward in the A gap? Like, that's so easy. Easy to say, but yeah, I'm with you, Curtis.
Because there's also, it's like, so you have to add talent, you have to add depth, and then you have to, as you said, Dirk to Daring, you have to jive it all. And Austin Jackson isn't moving anybody. He barely operates in pass protection. If he had to operate like a 2.4 range, he'd be washed. Yeah. He works okay in outside zone. He can't drive anybody. Brewer's kind of got a limited skill set, which you can work with. Then you don't have any other guards. I like Paul. I'm like a Paul a little bit. I'm not going to I love him. I love the mask. I love his personality, but I'm not going to say I love his play just yet. But you notice he doesn't get bull rushed. He handles power, and that to me is critical asset. You've got to be at least average, and he has some poor technique at times, and he's off balance at times, but they still can't move the guy because he's a giant. So that's one good piece. I think Tehran's coming back too.
Me too. He's coming back.
Yeah, I want to. Have you guys talked about his comments yet, or what do you guys?
No, he's coming back. I bet you money.
His comments. He made some comments.
Right. How do you guys feel about it?
What comments? What do you mean? What comments?
Some people are saying that he said that he took a shot subliminally at Mike McDaniel, and I really didn't see that.
Well, let me hear it. I saw his interview. I think I know what you're talking about, where he says guys got to be on the same page and show up for meetings or something like that.
Yeah, and just about every player on the Dolphins has said that too. Yeah,
really, really about attention to detail. That's not that's something that they're not doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he was
kinda
talking about the
was a shot
players,
at
though. I
Jay.
think he was talking about the players, but maybe not.
Now that was Vic's beef too. Vic's beef
Yeah.
was there was guys that just were out partying.
He
you know,
sucks,
and
though.
it's
He's
like,
old and mean.
Yeah, he's old and mean, and Cam Smith got unlocked, right? Cam Smith finally got unlocked
Remember
this
that?
year, and we saw the real
Remember
Cam
that?
Smith. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, he wanted guys to buy in and fight and put in the effort. And
Eagles players love him.
I've always wanted to be like, yeah, Miami's a party town. There's so many party towns. They're NFL players. They all party. That's not. But when you're hiring mercenaries to come in for big cash, and those are your team leaders, like Ramsey. I don't know him personally. I don't know if he parties or not, but he gives me the appearance that he's out partying. And I don't have the data for it. I'm sorry. I'm just going off my gut. He's a mercenary we hired to be a team leader. And then we paid him even more when he got up. I think he got upset with Fangio. So then we gave him even more money. Stick around. Here's some money. Lead this team. Tyreek, hey, man, here's a big payday. Lead this team for us. But they're just mercenaries. There's no culture they were brought up in. They weren't drafted. They don't have that gratitude for the team. Like, there's just so many things that aren't there out of our captains. You know,
All right,
and we have
that's
guys
it.
like
Let's
Van
make-
Ginkel, we just
Storm
let him go.
Duck our captain.
Nameless one.
Yeah,
What's going
from
on, brother? Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate that. Oh, wait. Wait, hold on a second. So I found out I've got till the end of the season, till into, I guess, training camp or something. I got to get up to 10K or I get canned. They're going to let me go.
Put a number on it, huh?
Yeah, they put a number on it. So I got to get any. If you guys haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, do all that stuff. I got to do the whole shebang, the whole salesman thing, which I hate to do, but I love this job. So guys, help me out with those subs if you haven't subbed. So that's it. I'll work on my pitch. But anyway, that's the whole deal. Thanks for stopping by, brother.
Man.
Anyway, keep going, guys. I would forget the end thing would end. It's 42 minutes, and I thought I said I was going to say it in the first 5 minutes.
There are some guys like Mr. Success over there. He's usually right about most of what he says, and especially on defense, there's a lot of players that do kind of slack around, and obviously it's documented. You know, there's players that aren't showing up to practice. I'm not sure if Jalen Ramsey is one of them, but there's a lot of players on defense that are not showing up on time to meetings and are not staying at, for full practice. They're taking those time off.
Yeah.
We've got
look at Fangio. Last year, Ramsey had tons of player-driven failure. He was missing assignments.
Yeah. Yep.
He just looks a little slower.
But we do have some players that kind of give a little bit of hope. And I'm just going to take this opportunity. I've ordered his jersey, and I can't wait till it gets here so I can wear it. I ordered a Storm Duck jersey.
Sweet.
I did. I caved.
He's going to change his number probably.
I got to say something. Bills fans stopped in here. I got to be extra generous. Guys, I think Kenneth Grant is perfect for you guys. I would even trade up just a little bit to get him. I really think DI for your first draft pick, guard in the second round. You guys got to shore up the interior on your DI spot. There's really not much in free agency. There's a few guys out there, but Grant is a guy. I want the Dolphins to get him. I'd love the Dolphins to trade back to around 22, 23 and get him. I think Grant is a key piece for you guys. You really need to get a stout because that defense of yours likes to run small linebackers and smaller edge guys and play that nickel look. You're going to really need that because the league is going to move more towards this pass balance and attacking that A gap. It's not you guys built your offense to the new cycle, but the defense was still lagging behind. So Grant, I think, is a big piece where you need a stout, big DI to offset Oliver, who's a little bit small, and then grab a guard. You're going to need, I think, 2 linemen in this draft and then 1 guard. One DI. I don't know about the receiving group. Is Cooper coming back? So
I don't trust that guy. I don't trust that guy. I think he's a mercenary type player too, who takes plays off and there's effort issues. And I've been following him since Dallas pretty closely. And I just always felt there's something off about him. And he keeps bouncing around for a reason.
But they got Coleman, they got Shakur.
Shakir's a little stud.
Yeah, he is. And then they got Kincaid. And then they got Knox. I mean, that's a lot of weapons. You really just need one more guy. And look at Amon Ra. He was found in like the 4th round. There's guys out there. Only the Dolphins need to spend massive picks on receivers.
You're good at quarterback. Their nameless one. I think he's the second best quarterback in the NFL, personally, but that's me.
Or instead of all this stuff that would make the Bills better, instead of that, just hear me out here. What about they draft a quarterback
froze.
and then bench?
There you go.
And bench Allen.
Really cool.
I think they should draft a kicker and have him play quarterback. Revolutionize
the
the
best punter in the NFL too. Did you guys see that? Matt Ariza.
What's that?
That guy's an amazing punter. I just forgot he was even on their team.
Wasn't he the guy that got busted? Like they tried to indict him on something. The Bills drafted him.
Yeah, some sexual harassment, sexual assault stuff. They ended up dropping it all. But before the draft, he was creeping up draft boards.
Yeah,
like the guy's got an amazing leg. I don't know if he can get it inside the 20, but he can definitely kick it about 70 yards. Man, it's pretty amazing.
I like that. So anyway, sorry, I went off on the Bills thing. I do enjoy evaluating them. I've been evaluating them for a few years. I enjoy them. It's really good. I know you're not supposed to like Bills. It's like
that's a whole other topic
thing
that went viral, man. Like if you like the Bills, you're a piece of shit Dolphins fan. Like Brady traumatized my whole youth. He traumatized my whole youth.
Know.
But there was this like coming of age where I realized one day he's really good. And he's earned everything he's done. And I just focused, he cheated. They cheated. No, everybody does shady stuff behind the scenes. Brady's an amazing player, and he had an amazing team, amazing coaches. Just give them the respect they deserve. And that's where I'm at with Josh Allen. I hated the guy for about 5 years. And now I'm just like, hey, man, Josh Allen's a freaking stallion. He's a great quarterback. And most Bills fans I know aren't assholes. I haven't had a lot of problems. It's Jets fans I've had some issues with, but not Bills fans. So I hate the Bills. I don't want them to win the Super Bowl, and that's just sour grapes. But I respect what they're doing over there, and I do think that, they could punt on guard, right? They could get some small receivers. Wouldn't that be a good plan? Just kind of hope that the receivers get open in the bad weather and hope their quarterback gets rid of it quick enough. You think that would work? That might work.
And on the question you occurs, if Howell is gone, and he should be, and in the draft you got to choose between top lineman or Malachi Starks, who you select. Depends on the lineman. I'm still debating on Banks. I'm still not super high on Banks. I think he's a good player, but I'm a little concerned because he's a tweener. Depends on who's there. It's a little bit of
a here.
No, gone.
I feel like he's one of those guys that Fangio was talking about.
Oh, of course he is. You see him, and he tried to get his interceptions and cost us points in games. Now he's washed.
On my list is gone this year.
No, he's got to be gone. He couldn't afford him. He's gone. I like safety, but if you go look, really what we should do is trade out at 13 if we can get anything. I still think there's guys to be had in those 20s, better value, get more picks. Like I said, I told nameless one, I love Kenneth Grant. All the top teams, they shore the A and B gap up on both sides of the trenches, and then they wait for good skill positions to fall at good value, and they keep shooting for quarterbacks. But if we get it like Malachi, then that's going to force Greer, who's terrible in the mid rounds and even worse at mid round offensive linemen, to have to hit in those areas, or else you're going to go in with who on this offensive line? We have no guards, no depth. Austin Jackson, and then if Tehran doesn't come back, who's the backup? There's a lot of holes, man. And so I think that Greer's only hope to find an offensive lineman, I mean, real hope is in that first round. But I would accept it from a build standpoint to trade back and then get Kenneth Grant. Because Sela can't man the pit. He's getting old. He's too cut high and tall. He needs to be in a 3-5 technique. You got defense creates consistency, not as much as the offensive line, but defense and offensive line sets the table of consistency. And you got to get some studs. So I haven't really studied him. I've looked a little bit into him. But I don't know. I was talking to Ryder McConneville, and I thought we were in a pretty good spot at 13. And he's like, we're a little bit of a no man's land. If this team picks this guy and this team picks that guy, and then the top town, there's only about 10 top players. There's other players going to be good, but the odds start dropping. So there's a little bit of a no man's land in 13. And I don't like Greer and no man's land. Those two words don't connect well. So I don't know. It depends.
Yeah. You hope there's some superstars sitting there that we don't need.
Yeah.
Really. Is Grant I said I want a guy like Haloti Nada. Did you guys say Grant?
Yeah. He's not that, but he's more athletic. He's a little bit more of a pass rusher. He was 360. He got himself down to about 340. The combine, you got to wait for the combine to see some stuff. But this guy looks really good.
Can't wait.
There's nobody else like him in the draft, though, because he's big, powerful, and super athletic. A little bit raw, but I like that, man. I don't know. I'm not saying, whatever.
We need as much of that as possible. Because if you look at the D line for the Eagles, there's some athletes, but there wasn't a Chop Robinson. There wasn't a Jalen Phillips type player. It was guys that could beat you with power, a little bit of speed, but really they're just going to lean on you all day, and they're going to outwork you, and they're real good athletes, Yeah. So that's the mold. I think of the Giants when they beat the Patriots. They had like Justin Tuck, Strahan. They just had a bunch of solid, powerful dudes who could swing left side, right side, inside. And they just created pressure up the middle all day. That's exactly how Brady lost that Super Bowl against the Giants. Yeah. Manning, let's put Manning in the Hall of Fame. Let's put Jalen Hurts in the Hall of Fame. Like, they had great teams that really helped them, man. And they made their plays. Hurts made his plays. We all know Manning made some plays, but that D line of the Giants is really what won that game for him, hands down.
But that's the thing is, it's all football is a game of imagination first. It starts in the conception of the mind. And that conception, that visualization turns into philosophy. And then that philosophy becomes process. And then the process becomes action. And then you develop something from that point all the way through. And so how you create this thing, it's like one of those, like a video games, I'm going to put points in strength and a little bit of agility. I'm going to keep this endurance. Like you build this thing. And it's not just the individual players, it's how they interconnect at each position group, and then how that position group connects with the other position group. And then as a whole, they present an image. It's a strategic and tactical vision that you put on the field that are human beings. And so our design is a poor design. It's incongruent because you just mishmash things. And then you put guys that really don't jive well with each other. But just the overall philosophy is one of speed, flash, and finesse. And that's great. But you always get put in a phone booth. If you don't have, you can have smaller ends. If you got two mammoths or one stud interior and one nice mic line, you got to create the vision, but it's got to be anchored in physicality. Our center, he moves really well. He ain't moving anybody. We have no D-line currently that can occupy both the run and pass game. Chubb can, but he's coming off injury. He might not be here. Phillips is coming off 2 years of injury. Chop can't. And you got Brooks. Brooks I like. But there's no rooting. You have to root. That's why like a guy like Grant, he would root a sector. And then you could play. It's all design. And you could have these big four guys. The edge guys are kind of big and they have a little bit of speed, but then your secondary slows it down just enough. And you stop the run because these guys are kind of big, although they're not super fast. And then you get them off schedule. And then all of a sudden, just like what you saw in the Super Bowl, the clock runs up a little bit because they're off schedule and secondary is covering. And now these guys are getting sacks, but we want them right off the bat. We want those quick guys, the flash guys. And all that stuff it's not consistent.
We need a Keith Traylor and a Tim Bowens. And then Phillips and Chop can do everything they want. Brooks will stay clean the whole game with the Bowens. You remember big old fat Keith Traylor?
Yeah.
Those 90s
Sawale.
nose tackles. Those guys were so fat and you couldn't move them. Gilbert Brown. Like, where did those guys go? We got
They
one
come
in
back.
Sweat
They
up
come
there.
back.
We need them. We need one of them, man. Like we thought we have one that looks like him in Benito Jones, but he
But
sure
he
as hell doesn't
sucks.
play like him.
I'm sorry, I
He
don't mean
looks
sucks.
like one.
He's just not.
He looks like one, but
Jorge, that's great. Kenneth Grant's stock is going to skyrocket after that DL performance by the Eagles. We may need to get him at 13. It's possible. And they're saying his combine is going to be ridiculous.
yeah. Sam
That's a really
Adams,
good
Ted
point.
Washington, very good. Nameless one. That's who we need, man. There's
a bunch of them now, though. You've got let's see, who do you got? You got Pierce, you got Vita Vea.
Yep.
I think there's a guy who's over Pittsburgh. There's some, because the philosophy, he's the anchor. And then you don't have once you get these guys, like the Ravens, like we're supposed to mimic the Ravens. They got Pierce and Jones. Jones is like 340 and Pierce is 360.
Yeah,
and those guys, they anchor everything.
Yeah.
Jordan Phillips, he's not bad. He just never worked as hard. He never met up to his potential.
He played better when he left, but
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I remember him banging heads with Gase.
He also banged heads with Omar Kelly too. Like Omar Kelly wrote something and pissed him off too. But yeah, he probably wasn't lying whatever he said.
Yeah, we need some two gap. You guys need some two gappers. We need some two gappers too. You need it, because it's just the game is going back to pass balance. The running back Barkley is going to raise the value. It's going to change a little bit. Teams are going to start moving. It already has. Look at all the teams. All the top teams are kind of building that same framework and that same philosophy. Look at the Lions, Philadelphia. Even when KC, they were kind of doing that for a while, and then the offensive line kind of crapped out. But a lot of their games, these were all close games. Then you go to Pittsburgh, and you go to, who else?
Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay. They're a little more shotgun, but they built a good offensive line. But it's all about running. They run that football, and it's just people laughed at me. They literally laughed at me for years. But it's the whole trophy is the guy holding the football. He's a running back. That's what the game is. It's about body blows. You've got to beat the person. You've got to break them. You don't think that Eagles defense thrived with all that time possession?
Yeah. I had money on Goddard to get some catches and some yards, and watching the way the game went, I'm like, they're not throwing it. And if they do, they're just going to be random deep shots off play action. So I'm not going to make any money on that. But yeah, I loved the game when it was Smash Mouth, when you could buy videos of biggest NFL hits.
Oh,
And they had the top 10, just, I don't remember what they called it. They just go over the giant hits of the week. Like, that's what I grew. I'm not even that. I'm 40, and that's what I grew up on. But football's going back because you can't stop power. You just can't stop power. You can try everything you want, but you can't stop power.
It works in bad weather.
Guys don't get smaller throughout the game.
Isn't that what Parcells said?
Yeah, sometimes speed slows down, but size doesn't get smaller. So
nope.
That's as true as it's ever been, man.
Hey, nameless one, Gianti. I think that guy's going to be phenomenal. I think someone's going to find a real stud with him.
Yeah.
Does
he have power? Does he have power to his game?
Yeah, that's what his game. Yeah, that's his game.
I thought he was
guy's
just
great.
A burner.
No, he's got his top end speed's a little off. He's fast, but no, he's unbelievable. I love running backs. That's my thing, and not offensive line. I love, because my running back was my thing. I love offensive line, but no, this guy's special, man. Unbelievable. Right. Curtis, do you think the cycle will ever change back to fun ball? Or do you think Gapper tells you, yeah, that was a blip on the radar? Because what happened is it's the same thing with the cheat motion. Hey, Dirk, you're doing it again. You're squalling again there, brother. Just hit the mute on you. Don't worry about it, man. Don't sweat it. No, you got to remember, football has been around for 100 years. I mean, it changed. We'll say from the 70s. It all was the same thing. But then they changed the rules very quickly, very rapidly. 6 all-time records were broke. Stats went out the door. Yeah. And the league was caught off guard. It's almost like our cheat motion. Look how we looked in 22 when people didn't know what the heck it was and whoa, caught off guard, speed. And but then all of a sudden started getting 23, it started getting muted. And then by 24, it was gone. And so these concepts, even from a philosophical level, can be reemployed if they go back to fun ball. And fun ball really mostly was because they allowed the cornerbacks, to really enforce things differently. But now that they've played with it, the only next thing they go is flag football. And so I don't think so. I think it's back for a very, very long time. There could be a new wrinkle and stuff like that, new rules. But remember, real true football guys are historians. They're studying concepts and strategies and tactics all through history, and they employ it, because you can pull things from the past and you can find, like, even what was it? The Wildcat, that's an old football thing that came out of nowhere, caught people. But then they started oh, wait, this happens colleges where they used to do back in the 40s. And they started figuring it out, So a guy like Fangio, he's watching film from 1940. I bet it's probably like his bedtime stories. So this whole fun ball era, it's been decoded. It's been historically logged. And so I just don't, unless there's some major crazy rule change, but how much more can they do? I don't see fun ball ever coming back.
Yeah, Peyton Manning and the battles with the Patriots, that kind of started the, hey, don't touch our receivers, let them run their routes.
Well, they both went crying to the league.
Yeah, the NFL said, okay, we'll let them run their routes. And then boom, everyone's throwing for 5,000 yards.
Oh, yeah.
That's the spike. 40 touchdowns. But if you look at this year, Josh Allen had his best year, in my opinion, and his numbers were down. He threw the ball less. He threw for less touchdowns. He ran for a little more. If the quarterback's throwing 25 times, 25 times, mean it was a great game for their team. There was teams where they were throwing for 126 yards. Josh Allen throwing for 140 yards. Lamar Jackson throwing for 126 yards. Yeah, they ran the ball, but they didn't ask the quarterback to do much but control and manage the game and let our big boys kind of dictate, and let's let this heavyweight fight take place. You'll throw some really good hooks at the end, Josh, but let this heavyweight battle take place. And you just saw it all year. I saw it all year. Numbers were down. Numbers have been going down, but not Tua. He spiked. He threw some really big numbers for a while there, but you're right. They said, okay, we know exactly what to do. And we don't have the counter because the counter was power. And we didn't have any of that.
Oh, and the league kind of said, oh, look, let's crack down on this a little bit, keep our eyes on it, which caused more hesitation when it came out of their breaks. They weren't as sharp and poppy. And so it just slowed it down by that fraction of a second. But Joseph's right too, though. They have been allowing more physical corners. But I think it's also more about the concepts, because I don't want to get into it now, but yeah, I think it's also more because notice it started diving around 2013, 2014, still was pretty hot, but then around 2018 or so, it started going down even more. But that's really when Fangio started taking off, and the mixed match zones, and then the offensive linemen weren't getting those reps. And so you couldn't get certain kind of protections, and your offensive line wasn't as good as usual. And then the talent cycles went heavy into the defense. I mean, all the talents really kind of flowing hot and heavy into the defense to kind of stop. That's the way it is. Where the money flows, the talent goes in the juniors. So I do agree with that, but I also think there's other aspects.
So this cycle's here for a while.
Yeah, right, definitely.
Copycat league. You just watched. There was one playoff team with a bad offensive line, in my opinion, out of the entire playoff, and that was the Texans.
Yeah.
And why were the Texans so good? Because of their defense, man. Their defense smothering. So when not one bad offensive line sneaks into the playoffs, I mean, you can reject that all you want, but that's a pretty big tell for me.
Oh yeah, it is. It's you have to look at what's the anomaly. That's an anomaly, and they struggled. He got the hell beat out of them, and I think it was like a certain point of the season they moved what's his name, Titus, the right tackle, to left guard. And they solidified his side. And then they found ways to get it done, but ultimately it was exposed. So You know,
and they had a run game. They weren't just a bad offensive line. They at least could run the ball when they needed to. And they had a mobile quarterback to offset some of the pressures. And that's what we really lack. And that's what this fan base is so hungry for. They watch Tyrell Huntley run a few times, and they're like, oh, my God, get Tua out of there. Huntley's the guy, because he made the offensive line not look as inept for that one play, for a few plays. And if Tua could run, God, it would do so much. But that's not the problem. The problem is he has to run because you can't protect. Like, I don't want to get – we've done a really good job not talking about Tua, guys. So let's keep it there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much more than that, you know. New offensive schemes create confusion, and that makes penalties easier to call. Yeah, they you know, the whole call thing, though, for me is very weird because these refs are whacked. You know, it's so hard to, like, determine what the heck they're thinking. I remember. Did you see the call where Mahomes got hit in the face and they're like roughing the passer and he put his hands to his face? Okay, but the guy had his arm around his neck as he's going to the quarterback. Why shouldn't it have been a holding call too?
Yeah, they're only looking at one thing.
I don't know what they're looking at, but
they're lawyers, man.
Not the playbook. It's not the playbook.
No, I think they suck, and I think they need. I feel bad for him, man. I feel bad for him. And I think they need to be a full-time gig. This is a $1 billion organization, and we can't pay some refs to be full-time. Get 30, 40 of them, pay them a shit ton of money, really train them, and they'd be fine. But they do it these are like half-time jobs. To me, that blows my mind that referee is not like they're studying right now, practicing, doing professional developments right now for next season, but they're not. It's really insane. I don't really. I think the
NFL doesn't want that, and you got to ask yourself why.
Yeah, why? Yeah, okay.
You know, I don't know. It wouldn't make sense. It'd be like, hey, you know, give me the worst accountant you got.
Yeah.
Give me the idiot over there, crossed eyes, whose mother is and father, brother, and sister. You know, like why would you wouldn't do that? You know, so it's like. Yeah. Well, maybe they want the book screwed up because you're doing accounting fraud and they don't want anyone to know. I don't know.
Yeah, it sucks, but I think they suck for every team, you know. So
yeah. My only wonder is like, when do they choose to suck and for who? I don't know. Yeah. I don't get into that. I don't get that.
Can we all agree that Chris Greer's going to spam the offensive line? And Curtis, I know you're a little older. Spam means just attack repeatedly. You know, think if you've been playing some video games, it sounds like. Think if you're just doing a straight punch, X, you're just spamming it. He spammed the D-line last year, blew it, didn't really come up with a bunch. He's going to spam the offensive line this year, draft, free agency, and we just have to pray. We just have to pray that these guys have learned their lesson. We're going to see it if they don't. Like, there's nothing they're going to sneak by us anymore. The guys that have really been watching this team, we're not going to get fooled. No media department's going to hype up any offensive lineman that we really don't believe in. So we're going to see. I think he's going to spam the offensive line. And, we just got to pray he hits on some. And we got to pray Weaver starts taking a bigger presence maybe. I don't really know. I don't know what the answer is, but we just got to pray that something good happens and we hit on some guys. So it's about all we can do.
I would just love to be in the draft room when the really good edge player comes up and Chris Greer's like a cracked addict, shaking and
just flick him.
Yeah, I want to draft the receiver and the skill guy and the edge guy.
No, we're worried about the offensive line as much as the fans, Chris. Remember.
Oh man, he's a clown. All right, guys, I got to get up and do a break job and then do a podcast. My old self is taking in my behind. I'm not going to be. Next Monday, I'm not going to be here. I'm taking vacation, and then I'm going to come back. So 2 weeks from now, we'll be back, guys. I appreciate everybody in the comments for stopping by, my monkeyism and my two awesome guys next to me. I appreciate all the help that you give me, all the support and all the great comments. And you too, you guys are the best. You put up with me, and it's not easy. Ask my wife. She'll tell you. So, guys, hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl. Get ready for another off season, and I will see you all soon. Curtis, Dirk, and Cody say, be well, go Fins. Good night.
Fins up.